Casualty is a popular medical drama set in a hospital A&E department in the fictional city of Holby. The programme was first broadcast on Saturday 6th of September 1986 on BBC One at 7:50pm. BBC One is the BBC's main broadcasting channel, therefore, the scheduling of a programme in a prime time slot suggests that Casualty was designed to appeal to a wide audience. The 1970s and 1980s saw an increased level of diversity on television. So with Casualty being created in the late 1980s, this is visible in the first episode due to the cast being made up of diverse characters, such as Charlie as a male nurse, as well as Afro-Caribbean and European staff members, a female child patient and much older male characters that worked on the docks. Therefore, this variety of characters in the narrative appeals to a wider audience rather than exclusively to the medical professionals, because there is a higher chance of them seeing a character on screen that they find relatable or likeable. Myers describes how the 1980s was something of a golden age of social realist drama. This applies to Casualty because of its social realist narratives. Unless audience members had spent time themselves in an A&E department, it is unlikely that they would have much knowledge about the goings-on inside of one. The genre of social realism demands that life should be presented in the form of a narrative of personal events. Episode 1 featured a narrative involving chemical burns on men that worked on the Holby docks. This narrative presented through personal events of the characters involved, showing a beginning, where the accident with the gas happens, the middle, where they arrive in hospital, and the end, when the character's narrative is drawn to a conclusion. Throughout the 80s, many men would have also been working in such places, therefore this storyline may have proven relatable to some audience members. According to a BBC News article, it was in the late 1970s and the 1980s that the financial constraints which now shackle the NHS really started to take hold. This is visible in one of the first scenes of Casualty where a member of staff is arguing with management. BBC News also stated that during the 80s, the NHS had a realisation that it could no longer be all the things to all the people. This is apparent in this Casualty scene because they state that the night shift, functioning well for the patients, but less so in the eyes of the hospital management. The original theme song from the first series was remixed and made into an R&B song in the year 2000 by Oxide and Neutrino, in a song called Bound for Da Reload. The song made it to number 1 in the UK singles charts. This reflects the lasting social impact of Casualty because it was transferred into this mainstream media song.
Casualty is a medical drama series that takes a realistic approach to the life of a hospital's ER, not only focusing on the workplace and its patients, but the personal lives of the staff. Typically, drama series would have one main storyline, including a different subplot with reoccurring characters, but would be resolved by the end of the episode, whereas Casualty will consist of 4 or 5 story strands each episode. So how does this all fit into an hour-long one-episode week? By using the flexi narrative, this is where a drama series will have multiple storylines in an episode, which some will be resolved and others will follow on to the next week. Therefore, Casualty's multiple storylines would consist of an insight into the personal lives of the doctors and nurses that generally last longer than one episode, with new short story strands of different patients in each single episode. One popular example of a medical programme that was made and aired in 1957 on ITV was Emergency Ward 10 by Tessa Diamond. Here is a quote by Les Cook in his book British Television Drama. Transmitted live as a 30-minute drama on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Emergency Ward 10 privileged characterisation and the relations between the staff and the patients, rather than the dramatic action. This was ITV's first serial to have 2 shows on weekly, which grew fastly to be very popular to the public. It was acclaimed that this was a documentary drama which, to a degree, would portray a realistic view of what went on in hospitals, but in a made-up hospital studio setting. This would include pushing the social realism in having storylines with topics such as interracial relationships. Where Casualty is concerned, the two left-wing co-creators, Jeremy Brock and Paul Unwin, came up with the idea was from their own personal experience they had themselves. They were not hospitalised together, but this did not stop them from having the same experiences and were both left deeply concerned with what they saw. So to make this show successful and fulfilling for them, they needed the realistic set and characters, but also a strong social realism when concerning the day-to-day goings of the hospital and the NHS.
Casualty's very first episode was aired on the 6th of September 1986 and was named Gas. For Series 1, Casualty was filmed multi-camera in studio at BBC Television Centre in London, with exterior shots filmed single camera in Bristol. Series 2 was filmed at Holby A&E Department in Waterloo Road, St Phillips in Bristol. They filmed street scenes in Bristol from Series 1 and other locations in and around Bristol, such as the Ashley Down Centre and Bristol University. Casualty is edited in a fast-paced way, cutting to different characters and scenarios while interweaving storylines and intercutting with one another throughout the whole episode. In the episode Gas, at the beginning there is a scene at the gasworks, with ominous and suspicious music in the background, and then cut straight back to the studio location, where there seems to be happy uplifting music in the background as the patients and the staff are in the hospital, suggesting to the audience that there is going to be a problem at the gaswork and the Casualty studio may be the resolution, suggesting a more positive outlook on things for the hospital scenes. The editing almost acts as a 3-act structure like Todorow's theory, but in some cases the resolution may not have come to a conclusion and we are left to tune in next week to find out what happens, which is a cliffhanger. One of the most notable contrasts between early television drama and the modern day is the shift from the multi-camera studio, initially transmitted live and later pre-recorded on videotape, to single-camera location filming. However, studio and location provide a useful starting point for analysing both the changing determinants of British television acting, the cause and the resulting screen performance, the effect. Dr. Richard Hewitt. There are many different camera movements and shots that occur quite often in this episode, such as the scene at the beginning where we see a long shot of the yellow car driving over the bridge, which is introducing a character and setting the scene as he drives into the hospital. Over-the-shoulder shots occur when there is an important conversation taking place with two significant characters speaking about an important storyline which is about to take place in the episode. Also, there are mid-shots and mostly close-ups of patients and staff members in the hospital, quite frequently. This is to show the emotion from a human perspective. Fast action, fast cut, appeals to sensationalism as the moments of highest dramatic temperature are collaged into a hotspot. At the same time, the distinctive musical signature and the reassurance offered by the images of professional medical care in the titles reinforce the formula. That is a quote from Nelson. TV drama in transition, forms, values and cultural change. I believe this refers to Casualty's formula and how they tell stories through fast-paced editing and cutting, and emotional music in the background, making the audience make their own mind up about what is going to happen in the episode.